Reboot it!
Arg! Welcome, mateys. I'm Ron Swallow, and welcome to Reboot Rewind, the official after show for Reboot It. Today we have the whole crew here talking about our reboot of Pirates of the Caribbean. Caribbean? I don't know. Escape from the Pirate Island. Give it up for Producer Bill.
What is going on? What is happening?
Producer Bill. Billy Business.
I'm really glad I hauled ass to make it to this one, guys.
And Ed Greer.
I think it was wonderful, Ron. Don't let these jerks.
I just want to point out, the last time Ron cosplayed, we ended up doing the Matrix episode, so I'm not feeling optimistic.
Bad track record for Ron's costumes on these shows.
Look, man, my Ren Fair gear was sitting around, and I was like, I got to do this. Plus, you know, now the ladies get to see this sweet chest hair.
Oh, yeah. It's really coming in.
Wasn't great for you guys.
I'm taking my shirt off. No.
You know how good this video would do if you did that, Ed? Or Bill or Ed? Just everybody getting naked.
No, we would definitely get a different sort of car wreck viewership if I took my shirt off.
I'm pretty sure we'd be demonetized.
I'd be like, look at them boobs. We got to get this off the TV.
Hey, this isn't OnlyFans. What's happening?
Silver dollars. Jesus.
Well, guys, let's talk about how this one came about. What made us think we could do this?
You know, to my memory, this may be one of the quickest. I think it was like we had between ourselves been obligated to a certain amount of episodes, and I think we just miscounted. We got towards like the home stretch. We're like, oh, I think we need to do one more. And it was either me or Bill who threw out like 4 things. It was like, oh yeah, pirate sounds fine. Let's do that. Like it was maybe a 3-second conversation. It was over.
I think this one was on your list. And if I remember correctly, we knew we were going to do the fan choice episode, which turned out to be Jurassic Park. And we knew we were going to cap off the season with Justice League. And yeah, we just had a hole in the schedule. We were like, what is going to be that third to last episode or second, whatever it is, second to last? And
Boy,
yeah, it was
we
super
feel
quick.
that hole.
That's what we do here. We fill holes.
Right.
To completion.
So yes, just
So
for my
Billy.
part on that isn't lewd or lascivious. I think that it was one of the, obviously I'm always reticent and I'm the B.A. Baracus of this jazz, and I guess I've bought into it on a certain level. But at the same time, it's one of these classic ones. We didn't have enough super, like, I think me and Bill were so impressed with the screenplay that we were the ones who thought it might be daunting. Where everybody else is like, hey, this is just a fun time. We're just going to redo a fun movie that's sort of a dead franchise. Let's do it. But me and Bill, I think we're just like, this screenplay is literally perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Pearl?
Yeah.
Is that the one you're? Yeah,
Yeah,
I know, Bill, you've been a big fan of the creative team of Pirates. Like they always manage to slip in there somewhere. Yeah, I think it was just like, it's fine. It's a franchise that's tired. That's kind of what we do. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
those are
only
Ted
reason-
Elliott and Terry Rossio. Okay,
Thank you,
put
Ed.
some respect on their name. They made
Thank
your
you.
favorite Zorro. The reason why you love Zorro so much ain't Martin Campbell's direction. It's Ted Elliott and Terry
wrong,
Rossio.
sir. The reason I love Zorro was because of that Family Channel show in the early 90s.
You know
Put
what I
some
mean?
respect on that, all right?
Oh, the one where he had a motorcycle named Johnny or something.
Listen, the only reason I like to bring those guys up is because I feel like the writers are often sidelined for good reason when you're talking about blockbuster films. Like most of these things end up getting rewritten in production and then rewritten in editing anyway. But those are guys that just they're literally the non-Bizarro universe of Kurtzman and Orsi, right? Like they're just a power team that can get stuff made, but they craft unbelievably tight, good screenplays for what they're doing. And like, I don't know, it's just a template that very few other writers and creative teams have been able to match. They're like, who was the guy that like wrote Batman Begins, but everybody hates him?
Goyer.
Yes,
Goyer.
they're the
David
anti-David Goyer. Like they
Yeah.
in the 90s, those dudes essentially had the power of David Goyer, where it's like attach them to $1 billion franchise and they're just going to do it. But nobody hated them because they were good.
The thing too is, I know they're not maybe the most beloved sequels, but the special features of Dead Man's Chest, especially, if you have it just in your basement, just lodged under, a bunch of old, boxes and stuff, pull it out, because the special features on that one, watching them collaborate with Gore Verbinski, they're passionate guys. Like, say what you want about those stories, but what you cannot say is that they just phoned it in to cash a paycheck. Like, they are really fighting for their creative kind of like, for the narrative and for the story and really for the craft. Like the special features are kind of better than a lot of those sequels ended up being. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they really dropped off once that team left, and then you got like Stranger Tides and all those.
No, not a coincidence at all. And all I'll say is like, look, if you out there like what we do on this show, you are doing yourself a disservice if you aren't familiar with those two guys. So that's all.
Cool. Well, let me ask you this then. Going off script, you guys, do you think our version matches up to their version?
I think no. Not. I had to think about it. All I'll say is I think we did a different kind of movie, and I think if ours was made with fidelity, it could stand up to it.
It's funny that you say that, Bill, because when I walked out of doing this episode, I would have said the same thing. But then editing this episode and watching it multiple times at that point, like, I feel like this is probably the second best Pirates movie in that franchise, but ours definitely feels maybe a little too safe. Like I at the end of the day, like, I think, I came in and I had some crazy night at the museum-esque idea, and not that I was married to it, but I think I wanted to do a big swing. I wanted to like redefine, like, let's just go for it. And we ended up doing that in the next one with Jurassic Park. And I was kind of hoping we'd bring that energy to this one. So I think that if ours really does feel, especially with the John Peters edition, like, it just feels like a really good entry into that franchise. So if that's the case, I say it's still second to Curse of the Black Pearl.
All right, fair enough.
That's fair.
And Billy came in with some pretty strong pitch. You mentioned that. Do you think that affected things? Because I felt like you didn't like you had a strong idea, but then you didn't like obsess over it.
No, a lot of times when I come in with like anything like that, it's just a conversation. It's just a thought starter. It's just like, that's me telling you guys, like, my head is somewhere else. Like, let's do some big swings. And, I think if you were to put a greatest hits compilation together of Reboot It, I don't think Pirates makes the cut. I also think if you did like the 5 swings and misses of Reboot It, this also doesn't make that cut. This is a perfectly serviceable 3 out of 5 rebooted episode that I kind of wish we had, maybe in hindsight, played it as safe. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's like, listening to it, it's like, yeah, this is probably what they would do. And I always want to, like, I don't know. I just felt like with Transformers and Pirates, those are franchises, like, they went to the well so many times that I think we went to the well and were much more fruitful with what we got out of it. But I was like, let's do something different in hindsight.
Well, I mean, I just want to speak to that, though. Part of me goes, I do reject that it was safe because A, Idris Elba as a lead ain't exactly setting the world on fire these days. B, we straight up got slavery up in this mug. C, it's very much, people talk all the time about like how there's never any like classical action Disney behind them type of machinery like women in film. Like people always go back to like Sarah Connor and Ripley, and those are like 30 years ago as their examples of the strong female lead. But who's an iconic like black guy lead, and don't say Black Panther because you'd be suffering from recency bias. I think, you know what I'm saying? Like,
But you're
who's the
missing
one
my
on that?
point.
No, I'm not. I'm not saying that you're against that part of it.
No,
Not at
no,
all.
but I'm just saying at all. Like the reason I say safe is only because we still kept one toe in the water of what had come before. It evolved from that, and ultimately being forced to put Johnny Depp somewhere in it, like just reinforce this idea that like it is cut from the same cloth ultimately. Like I'm saying, like, look, just for me personally, like pie in the sky, space pirates or pirates of the future, or let's not even do pirates. Let's do like Somalian Pirates of the Caribbean.
I've got the best idea. Pirate NATO.
Sure, why not?
There's a bunch
Something
of
different. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I still think our pitch is like one of the best versions of what had already existed. So I was just like personally was like, man, maybe a completely different, like, let's not even try to do anything close to that. But that's just not what we ended up with.
Yeah, just to jump on that real quick, I tried to have that conversation early in the episode talking about tone and how, like, essentially that first Pirates movie is the perfect version of what it was trying to be, right? And so I think I was trying to steer us into, let's try to figure out how to be something else. And we ended up coming back into the lane of the first Pirates movie. And I totally agree with you. I think the subject matter that we were able to infuse into that formula is 100% fresh and different and pretty daring, especially in a Disney franchise. But I also hear what Billy say. Like, we weren't doing time pirates. It wasn't like pirates from the year 3600 go back to the year 1000 and fight some Mayans or something like, you know what I mean?
It just was like, I wanted to play outside of the box. And I feel like we just ended up making like a really good box, like, but any idea that would have been so left field would have been at least interesting.
No, I gotta say though, that's where it comes back to the eternal push and pull of Reboot It though. You know what I mean? Because like, I'm telling you, everything's easy to reboot if you could just change it all. Everything is. We could have, you know what I'm saying? People talking about on our Knight Rider episode, we could have made it an AI that was boarded on the guy's body, like Upgrade. Well, hell, if you could do all that, well, then the bio upgrade is
the Knight Rider episode. Okay?
Whatever. The bio
Ron's
upgrade.
triggered.
The bio upgrade is Jack Sparrow now. What are we talking about? You know what I mean? That to me is like what we did with Jurassic Park. To me, is the spirit of what would make these dinosaurs fresh. And I recall myself being the first one to say, put it in the future, which is crazy and stupid, but we made it come around because we justified why it was in the future and why it was still Jurassic Park, even though it was in the future. And I just feel like the legwork that we'd have to do on this to be like, okay, we don't have Jack Sparrow. It's about pirates, but they're ice pirates or whatever that, you know what I mean? I just feel like all that legwork when we could have just did what we did, which make a movie that I think as long as it came out on Netflix, we could hide the numbers, would make money, and and B, you know what I mean, would fulfill at least the basic mandate of pirates: water, ships, cannons, swords. You know what I mean?
I love your idea of ice pirates. When I was a kid, my sister forced me and my family to go to the ice pirates capades. And it was wonderful. I got to tell you, it warmed my heart. So we definitely, next time we do Pirates of the Caribbean, have we decided which one is correct? Anyone?
It's either, whichever your heart desires.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Just not that.
Okay,
That's the only wrong answer. But if I could just finish up my point, all I'm saying is there is a majesty to doing your damn job. And I'm not trying to direct that at you or be rude or anything, Billy, or anybody. But the bottom line is, when people hire you to make pirates, they're probably not going to hire you to make whatever the hell you want. They're going to hire you to make something that they can sell as what they've been selling. And I think we put a new engine in it. We gave it a new body. But yes, you're right. It was still a car. And at the end of the day, it's a car company. So I get what you're saying, but like, shit, I wish I could have changed the G.I. Joes into spacemen or something, or superheroes. But
my only rebuttal would just be if I were to walk into a boardroom with something completely zany, like all the animatronics in Pirates of the Caribbean come to life and they have to figure out how to be pirates in the real world. If that was my pitch and they were like, that has nothing to do with the pirates that we've made, I would say, well, you made 5 of them and I can show you the diminishing returns. You went to that well a lot of times. There's nothing left there. So let's completely flip it on its head. And I think with Pirates, you could do it in a way like the Lego movie, where you went into that movie and you're like, oh, it's going to be like Toy Story. And you just get ripped apart when you realize, oh, this is a story about a father and a son. And it completely flipped itself on its head. That's the kind of energy I wanted to bring into Pirates of the Caribbean, because Pirates of the Caribbean is just so tired. And I think what we ended up with was like, oh, that's really cool. I would actually I think that would have maybe, had they have done our movie instead of On Stranger Tides, we probably could have turned the tide on that franchise and maybe, kept the ship from sinking.
But that's all I'm trying to say, is that those movies, the diminishing returns, are because they got faker and dumber as it went along. They got farther and farther away from real life politics. This chick is around 57,000 pirates just walking around. Hey, what's up, man? Ain't nothing gonna happen to me. It's magical pirate land. It's just like, get out of here. In our world, one of the main things is our character being like a 15, 16-year-old girl and having to take care of other kids. They're in a unique, horrific danger we don't really have to go into, or in this whole situation. And we find a way for them to get out of it and thrive and survive. And like, just the realism angle. That's all I'm saying. Maybe I'm too in love with it, but the realistic politics of what those times were, and still making a good action adventure story out of that without obfuscating anything, without having our pirate guy walk up to the president and smack him in the face. You know what I mean? With all this fake Wild Wild Westery. I just feel like that was an accomplishment, is all I'm saying.
I'll co-sign that, Ed. I mean, I like it also, although somewhere in what Billy was just saying was essentially the Itchy and Scratchy Land version of The Simpsons with pirates, where all the animatronics go murderous. And now my head is just spinning with the idea of essentially crossing over Pirates of the Caribbean and Terminator, and how glorious that could be. So,
but see, that's the conversation that I just lament that we didn't have, and maybe it wouldn't have even been appropriate or fruitful. But it's like, maybe just after X amount of episodes of our show, it's like, oh, that would have just been a fun detour, if anything, just to get the wheels cranking.
When we go bonkers, it could be very fun.
Yeah, and also, and like I said, and the last thing I'll say about it is, it just seems like the world of the bonkers, meaningless protagonist is one that we don't truck in often, and when we do, it's some of the worst things that we do. And I just think for one of the first times for a while, our protagonist was like super important to how everything was going down and blah, blah, and really well constructed, maybe to the detriment of the other characters. We actually did so much work on the actual protagonist. So that's it. But I do get what you're saying in regards to zany. And like I said, that zany wave held back just 1 week, came to fruition in the Jurassic episode in a big way. And everybody went with the zany, and we were all zany. Like I said, I was OG zany on that one. So I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying.
Well, the next, whatever is, we decide the next reboot it is, whatever one we're going to do first, I guess it would be season 4, whatever it is we decide to do. I'm going to bring the stupidest idea you guys have ever heard. That's
counting on
my
it.
plan now. It's going to be zany, though.
I was just going to point out, stupid and zany are not synonyms.
Oh, no.
By the way, I think the difference, and I know you were making a bit, but I think...
I'm joking.
No, totally. But just for the audience, I want to be clear, the reason my mind went there specifically for Pirates of the Caribbean is what I just said, which is you take a franchise that has just gone to the well so many times. I don't think you could take that approach to Zorro, where the origin of the original Zorro just has never been properly told on film. That doesn't make sense to take a big, huge, weird left field swing there, where something like, if we ever get around to Transformers, we're going to have to think of something crazy, because they have done every single possible iteration of that. And that's how I was feeling about Pirates. Now, we came to something that I really do like this pitch. I just think, again, like I said, if it were me in a vacuum, I think I probably would have come up with something really freaking crazy just to get away from everything else.
Oh, and to yes, and that When we do Transformers, I'm pitching that the whole movie takes place on the head of a pin and they're nano medical bots inside of a body or something. I'm going
Fine with me.
nuts.
I'll go, dude. Transformers meets Magic School Bus. Are you kidding me? That sounds like the best pitch I've ever heard.
Right. I just made that up on the spot, but you know what I'm saying? Like just ridiculous.
Miss Frazzle on a freaking Optimus Prime inside of my colon. What a colonoscopy that would be.
Dude, Transformers is inner space. Book it, gentlemen.
I'm gonna pitch something where a person just changes their behavior and their attitude and
They are the Transformer.
It's more psychological. It's the most low stakes movie.
Starring Adam Driver and Timothy Chalamet and Shailene Woodley. Transformers, 330-somethings change their lives.
To put a hat on a hat, they all work at an electrical switching station where they work with Transformers.
If we had pitched that as our Transformers, I would probably retire from the show. I'd be like, we don't get better than
It's
that.
like Office Space at a Transformer factory. Or whatever.
Awesome.
And that's our movie, Transformers.
More
I
than
love
meets the
that.
eye.
More than me.
Morgan meets a guy. Transformers.
All right.
Man.
Well, with that,
Yeah,
let's
that's
get to
funny.
this pitch. We start with a ship being ransacked by a villain and his crew. The villain take a golden sword and a young woman hostage, leaving the ship to sink with a cargo hold full of slaves. One of them, Black Caesar, barely escapes, but can't save anyone else. He watches the villain sail away with his daughter and the sword. Flash forward to a rich family on the high seas sailing a merchant ship headed to New Orleans. We intro the kids, what they are good at, what their personalities are, etc. They are obsessed with pirates, romanticizing their adventures and their supposed pirate code. The ship is overtaken in the middle of the night by pirates. The children are hidden as their parents are nixed off the screen in true Disney fashion. The kids see a quirky pirate take the box of important papers, including land deeds and their father's will. The pirates sell off to Pirate Island. The kids come out and they are stranded on a ship with no sailing skills. When the kids wash up on Black Caesar's personal treasure island, they try to get him to help them. He has his own agenda and leaves them on their own. But when he sees pirates heading to the island, he can't leave the children to that fate. Some of his crew are killed or injured saving the kids, so now it's almost necessary that he makes them into sailors. He pounds them into that into them that the pirate code is stupid, make believe, as we are the tales of special. Wait, sorry, I'm reading weird. He pounds into them that the pirate code is stupid make believe, as are the tales of special pirate magic. They head to Pirate Island. The kids want their birthright so that they can go home. Black Caesar is going because the pirate that killed Black Caesar's people stole his daughter, and the golden sword is now the king of Pirate Island. Some say his fortunes changed the night he got that golden cutlass, that its magic has made him unbeatable in combat. Black Caesar hatches a plan to use the kids to help him get the villain. The kids try to scam and Ocean's 11 their way into the vault that holds the kids' birthright. Meanwhile, Black Caesar tries to take out the villainous king of Pirate Island, but is soundly defeated by the villain and the magic of his golden sword. Black Caesar is beaten up and thrown in jail. The kids almost experience the same fate, but are helped out by Angela Bassett. Yeah, specifically, and it's not even a character played by Angela Bassett. It's actually just Angela Bassett.
There's the left field turn I was waiting for.
Hello, children. It is me, Golden Globe winning actress Angela Bassett.
I am here to save you.
I also snuck into the Disneyland after dark, and I am lost. I was looking for Black Panther Land.
And then
Or at
Shirley
least-
Bassey shows up. She's like, "What this pirate's doing?"
I don't have the range for these pirates. These pirates don't have the range.
That's awesome. She tries to get them off the island, but they refuse, saying they aren't going to leave Black Caesar behind. Pirates may not have a code, but these kids do. The kids and Angela Bassett, and maybe even Rihanna, playing the daughter that Hugh Jackman stole from Black Caesar in the first scene, help Black Caesar escape. Maybe Rihanna gives them a key piece of knowledge that helps them storm the impregnable pirate castle or whatever, but bottom line, they confront Hugh Jackman and his minions. In the scrum, Black Caesar gets hold of the golden sword and uses his skills and its magic to slay the king of Pirate Island. The kids get their birthright back, but choose not to go back to the New Orleans because they would essentially make them plantation owners. They've learned enough to reject that life. So the kids, Black Caesar and his daughter, sail east towards adventure, vowing to be the one crew that truly lives by the pirate code. Cast: Black Caesar, played by Idris Elba. The villain was Hugh Jackman or Brad Pitt, but I think we leaned towards Hugh Jackman. Second in command bad guy, Andy Serkis. Always perfect for some kind of crazy pirate guy. I think Andy Serkis would be awesome. Black Caesar's long-lost daughter, Rihanna or Zendaya. Mary, oldest kid carrier, paid by Sophia Lillis. Love interest that lives on Pirate Island, Angela Bassett. Directed by anybody but Gore Verbinski. Literally, we talked about 10 different directors for this, from the guy who did Creed 2 to Matthew Vaughn to Remy Weeks of His House on Netflix. Bill liked Ben Zealand of Beasts of the Southern Wilds, which is a dreamy, well-shot movie starring a kid surrounded by water. So maybe he was right. It sounds like we kind of just went back and forth on a bunch of different directors. So,
I thought we had dropped all the Will stuff. I guess not.
Well, no.
My only hang up ever...
the land deed stuff about them going back or whatever. I don't think we dropped that. I think we just stopped talking about it.
I mean, the only thing I ever said was like, well, why didn't they just forge new papers? It's not that hard. Like, that's why I was always pushing for like the sword or some item that's like tangible and looks good on screen. Looks like this pitch almost combined both ideas, which I guess is fine. It's just like fighting over land.
Well, I just watched the episode, and basically what it was the kids had an agenda, which was something in the vault, something inside of a golden box of treasure that was meaningful to them, but not necessarily actual treasure. Whereas Black Caesar on his ship that got felled sometime in the past, that's where the golden sword got taken from. The pirates don't come onto the kid's ship to take a golden sword. What the kid's going to do with the golden sword, you know?
I don't know what the golden sword does.
It's magic. Did you hear?
The whole thing about the papers was kind of what tied in the slavery backstory of Black Caesar, where essentially those kids were all the kids of would-be plantation owners. And I think what we said is it's not necessarily land deeds, but it's like something specifically from the King of France that shows that they are aristocrats, and so they can take their rightful land. You know, it's just something like that.
Yeah, and it also like kind of I think one of the big things that we wanted in that was for it to come across as like maybe a thing that was bad that they were going to do, you know, like because there was going to be a plantation basically involved. And I think that's very important in that, because these kids are learning that being good people is really more important than, you know, having power or having any of that stuff.
But just even beyond all that emotionality, the whole point of like a lot of times when heroes have this goal for the whole movie and then they realize they don't even want that, that's like interesting because they've changed enough over the course of the story to not want what they originally wanted. These are children. They want to go home. Under whatever circumstances, I want to go home. In the end, they're sailing off with Idris Elba to all these adventures. They've fundamentally changed due to the adventure.
Yeah,
so
I think that's a big deal. I've been watching Schitt's Creek, and I started off hating the show because I hated the characters so very much, and it just irritated me so much to watch the first like season, I guess. But we're at the very end, and I won't give anything specific away just in case anybody hasn't watched it. But like in the end, they realized that what they wanted wasn't really what they wanted. For almost all of them, they all make these different decisions that were great for each character, and they weren't what you expected that decision to be. And I think that's an important thing to do for any character when you have a good arc for them. Just my opinion there.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of making characters genuinely unlikable in the first act, because that at least gives them somewhere to go. And so giving them literally a goal that is gross, I think that's a fine thing to do, because you're essentially challenging them. You know, the whole point of the kids is that they're entitled, And so you're literally challenging them to recognize how gross their entitlement is. And you do so, I mean, that's one of the ways of taking advantage of making it a period piece, is that something we understand today with a modern perspective to be unequivocally gross, you're sort of challenging them to rise to the occasion and adopt that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get to a couple of questions and fan comments from you, the Rebooted community. First up, we had Bushido Black. If Disney ever decided to go with this fantastic pitch, they could pull some inspiration from a real-life pirate republic called Nassau. That place had a lot of famous pirates. Did I say that wrong?
Nassau.
Nassau.
Oh, yeah,
Flirt.
like the song. That place had a lot of famous pirates. You could get some cameos from Calico Jack and Bonnie, Charles Vane, Henry Avery, etc. Brad Pitt, Hugh Jackman's character, could also be a fictionalized version of Ned Lowe, a ruthless and psychotic pirate. What do you guys think?
Sure. I know nothing about pirate lore. I've learned through this that a lot of you guys have some intense pirate knowledge that I do not share. So
Well,
yeah,
I wouldn't say
seems
a
like it
lot.
tracks.
Yeah, I wouldn't say a lot. I would say me and that guy. But I would I would
Sure,
say
that all sounds like a track. I've heard
but,
Nassau before.
but I mean, I think it's just Nassau, like in Florida, like Nassau. But anyway,
I'm pretty sure
I
it's a
think
city in the Bahamas, is it not? Nassau is like still a city
yeah,
in the
but I
Bahamas?
think
I only know the song "Funkin' Nassau."
we might
You
have to
don't know
bleep, we might have to
We're
bleep
all
that.
right.
Demonetized.
It's
I know,
from
we're
the
gonna have to
second Blues
bleep that.
Brothers.
We're gonna have to bleep that for like 4 reasons.
I'm
But,
not that good.
But no, what I'm saying is basically Calico Jack was a dude who was known, he hung out with Anne Bonny, and Anne Bonny and some other lady were like 2 of the people on his crew when nobody had women on their crew. And like I think the other lady dressed as a man and Anne Bonny just was openly a woman. And I think there could be some chance to do something with that. And Calico Jack, I don't know if he was a super cruel guy like Ned Lowe, but Calico Jack is just a great name. I love that pull of Calico Jack.
The thing is, for me, it sounds weird because our protagonist is based off of a real pirate, but I'm always wary of getting too far into the like historical fiction. And I always point to the weirdest movie I've ever sat through that I just felt dirty and gross the whole time was Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I was just like, this is, I don't like this. Like, I get to a certain point, especially if it's like maybe a figure in history that we don't know much about and we're not necessarily rewriting the rules, but it's like Abraham Lincoln's son like really died. And I'm pretty sure it was not from a vampire bite. Like, I'm fairly confident. I wasn't there, but I'm fairly confident. So it's like anytime that you take someone's real story and make it a little too fantastical or add maybe a little too much flair, like I don't know. It's just it's a little strange, which I get. Like we kind of did that with our protagonist, but I don't. I think we still colored somewhat within the lines. I don't know. You tell me. You know the character better than I do.
Well, I don't think he fought anybody for a golden sword on Pirate Island.
He didn't. But he also did not get bit by a vampire, so I don't think we crossed the line.
Yeah, and
I'd actually like to point out it wasn't a vampire; it was a werewolf. He got bit by a werewolf.
What, dude? That movie was so bad.
Which one? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Abraham Lincoln Vampire.
Oh
Hunter.
yeah.
I think that's literally what it's called.
Yeah.
Blood Pirates, another good variation on pirates that we could have gone with, and we just
Dude, come on, it was right there.
That's for
Vampire
our
pirates.
That's for our reboot of Blade is Blood Pirates. Like, hey, we got a blood shipment in there.
Would that still be Twilight though, or would that just be something so different from Twilight if we had done it?
It's coming. The Twilight Rewind is coming.
I'm
don't
busy
know.
that week, guys.
Well, we can argue again. It's going to be great. So let's do another fan mention. This is just a nice thing that someone said about me. It's D's Reviews. He said, damn, Ron, I got chills when you suggested the kids go back to Save Caesar because it's part of their code. It was like the movie gelled right there. Somebody better give you guys some jobs.
think you have to read that typing error as if you're Dusty Rhodes. It whacked like at the movie just jailed right there. I think that's maybe what they were. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like the movie just yelled right there. But
I don't know.
These
reviews, if you can go ahead and just comment on here and let us know if you were trying to do Dusty Rhodes, baby, and we just read it wrong, and I apologize.
Yeah,
Can I go on record of saying that the Dusty Rhodes impressions is the greatest running bit in Reboot?
Yeah.
Well, it's, especially when you whip them out on the high seas. You whip them out on the high seas with these pirates.
You got low tide, high seas, baby. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be bananas.
This is great. Thank you, D. That was a nice moment, I think, as well. I'm pretty great. I'm very attractive.
You did a good job in the way of like helping us to translate Billy's more kid friendly idea to the dark world that I was pulling it into, and I guess a lot of people were willing to go there. But you know what I mean? Like, you were the bridge that kept us coming back to like emotional through line stuff. I think you even tried to put like some heirloom that the kids would be like, well, that's grandma's necklace, and now it's around the neck of that pirate or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You tried to bring us to the sort of Disney ethos as far or pathos, I guess.
Did you hear that, Disney? Hire me to make emotionality in your movies. I'll do it. I've got emotions. All right. Let's go with the next commenter, Harley Ashley. This episode is a great example of when you guys all seem to get on the same page very early and build on a theme and branch out from there. Very cool where this ended up. I got to thank Billy for that, I think. Billy had some ideas, just like he said. He wanted to come in and do something different, but he gelled with what we all were coming up with and just rolled with it. I think, and I think everybody did a good job, but specifically, I think you did a great job, Billy.
Again, I think it's just sometimes you just have to you have this blank, whiteboard. Like, you have to write something on there to at least get it started, even if it's a bad idea. A lot of our best ideas come from I don't know about that, but I like that one little bit, we can blow it up. So I think also too, just coming into this one, I think it's really starting to show that I have such a resentment towards fans and fandoms of our age group. And I just absolutely disdain having to make anything for anyone that is 30 years or older. So I definitely wanted to make something for kids, because honestly, I don't think 30-year-olds should be like, well, Pirates of the Caribbean should be this. It's like, well, you should be at H&R Block paying your taxes, and your kids should be deciding what goes in to a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. So I wanted to always bring I'm not making movies for the fans of the stuff that it used to be. I want to make new fans, and that's kind of where I think with our pitch, it's just different enough that I think that you could attract a new audience to this.
Yeah. And let me say, that's such an important thing too, because one of the best moments in Endgame, I went and watched Endgame at the theater a couple different times, but the first time I went, it was on opening night, place is packed. Sitting in front of us are 4, maybe 18-year-olds, possibly younger, very young kids. And this kid, when Cap gets the hammer, jumps out of his seat and cheers like it's the coolest thing he's ever seen. And I realized that kid has literally grown up watching these movies. And that while these movies were good to us too, it was so cool to see something just touch a person and touch a kid in a way that that when that kid grows up, he's going to still feel that later on. He's going to remember that day where he jumped out of his seat when Cap holds the hammer as a big thing. And I think it is a great idea that we should think about that when we make things, especially something like Pirates, where this is a thing that I think is more for kids. Disney, most of the stuff is kind of for kids.
The danger is making now everything for that 18-year-old kid 20 years from now, where it's like, no, stop catering to one audience, get to the next one. And that's kind of how I feel. Like I really feel, and I don't mean to take us down like this tangent, I apologize, but like everything that is coming out in the last 5 years or so is just catering to our age group. It's just like, buy it again. And it's like, what do you guys want? We'll give it to you again. It's like, oh man, like I think that's maybe where my drive for like, let's take a left field big swing on this thing came from, was just like, I don't want to cater to people my age that are like, well, Pirates of the Caribbean should be this because this is what it was. It's like, well, you had yours, so move on, because now this is for someone else. Because I think that just comes from me being sick and tired of watching people argue about this crap online all day.
Yeah,
Hey,
good.
real quick, speaking of that, guys, Johnny Depp, what's your opinions?
We already got
who are you, John Peters? What is happening?
we already got demonetized twice.
I think we need to all go around the horn and give really detailed opinions about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Who do you
I was
believe?
not pleased that was the John Peters. I really was like, oh man, like now we just can't escape that other one. Like it's impossible. But you know what? That John Peters was one of the most frustrating, probably because that's exactly what the mandate is going to be. And it's just like, even in this like pretend fantasy world, I can't get away from this, you know?
And you're keying on that point though, and I'm glad that you brought that up rather than I, because that is part of the kayfabe. We have to deal with like the reality of the whackness of executives, the reality that the 40-year-old people have the money and they're going to take 15 people to the damn movies to go see something, or they're not. And I think obviously these days a lot of kids have their own money, but you understand what I'm saying.
That's such a fallacy, though. I'm sorry, because I thought about that too, but that's a fallacy because it's like,
that's for children's movies. The thing I just said applies more to children's movies. I agree with that. All I am trying to say in this thing is we did cater to a new audience because we don't get a bunch of frankly old time crackers having consequenceless fun all over the place in this new series of movies. And the whole reason why I put that Angela Bassett lady in there was, if there was somebody on Pirate Island that could be the queen of Pirate Island under actual equitable circumstances, equitable in terms of piracy, and she's been denied that, that's one thing I want to do, is to try to shore up the pitch a little bit. If we did have an actual aged woman character on the island, instead of Keira Knightley going through 3 whole movies of development to become a pirate queen, how about this 56-year-old black lady that's been ready to be the pirate queen since she was about 33? And the events of this story make her be the pirate queen because now all of a sudden her boyfriend Black Caesar leaves her on the island with the sword, and she's unbeatable in this stupid magic world, and she actually gets to be something. That's a different audience for this movie. It isn't always white children. The point
is, if I have to live in this kayfabe world, then the weeks leading up to the release of our new Pirates, when it's inevitably going to leak that Johnny Depp has some sort of cameo or footage, is all the Vice articles about how justice for Johnny or cancel this movie or whatever. I don't even know enough about what's going on with them. Like, I don't know what the story is because I just don't want to know anyway. But it's
honestly,
just like,
it's all kind of being settled by them.
But then it becomes
opinion, but they're settling it.
I'm not interested. But the thing is, it's like that. Then it just becomes like, I guess that's the thing. It's like that John Peters just brought it so down to earth. It's just like, yeah, I guess this is just kind of where we are. And I still think our movie is great, but it's just like, it is saddled with the baggage of the past. And I think we did the best that we could with it. But it's like, it is now clearly, our movie, whether you like it or not, is clearly defined by the series that came before it.
Fair enough.
That said, I love sorry, Ron. I just want to say, I love the reverse Harrison Ford in The Force Awakens, where it's like, all the stories are false. All of them. I love that. I love that.
No, it's great. I love that it's basically, it's just like, yeah, it's the Tim Burton Big Fish, where at the end of that movie, you find out, yeah, his stories were like true, but clearly exaggerated and not exactly what you thought it would be. Like, that's kind of neat. but yeah, we would get crucified for having Johnny Depp anywhere near this movie. But I don't know. I'm curious to see what Disney actually does.
Well, I mean, the one thing I have a big tradition of trying to poo-poo the Peterses or put them in the appendices. Like, okay, there's after the credit scene, like when the ushers come in to get the popcorn and the sticky stuff off the ground, then we play this scene that has the job. You know what I'm saying? I do that all the time. And I was gonna pitch at the time this thing of like a guy who kind of looks a lot like Jack Sparrow, like one of those billion lookalikes, comes in, he swaggers in doing this little do and gets killed or eviscerated instantly by this hardcore world we're living in, because you can't just be a fop and walk around and just Mick Jack, hey baby, all the time in this world. You will get murdered.
Oh my God! Why didn't we do Austin Powers pirate? That would have been an amazing pitch.
Man, everybody's
Do
in
I have
Little Lord
scurvy,
Fauntleroy
baby?
costumes.
Oh my God, that would have been great. See, the pitches are they're flowing like wine.
But yeah, so
As long as there's someone who pets a cat, I'm in.
Yeah, why not?
Cool. We had another comment from Zane on the same kind of thing with Harley. Probably one of my favorite things watching these sessions is when each come in with different ideas, try to merge them, and it feels way too forced, overloaded, etc., with disparate tones. But then you all are able to kind of suddenly scoop out a nice cohesive story from that amalgamation. Around 4104 was when it hit with me for this episode. I got to be honest with you.
Pretty late into it.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. 4104. I don't know when that was.
I mean, just that's at least halfway through, I guess. Yeah, 9 times out of 10 we get there, and then the one, out of 10 times it's a Knight Rider. So I'm glad this was not that.
Watch your mouth.
A night riding matrix of True Blood, or whatever. True Blood.
How dare you, Ed?
I could actually make True Blood easier than I could make Twilight.
I know this isn't
I
that
bet.
episode, but I was just thinking, I was like, man, like our Justice League pitch is great. It is torture to get to it. It is a 4.5 hour Lawrence of Arabia quest to get to.
It makes it all the better, man. You gotta brave it. You gotta
Does
brave
it?
the elements. Man, it's like that hot cocoa tastes so much sweeter because you've been out in that blizzard for so long.
Dude,
No, I think I died on the side of Everest.
No, you were about to die, and a big old Saint Bernard of good action scenes came up and gave his little barrel to you, and
Dude.
you survived.
That is the closest we've ever gotten to full meltdown failure and made it back to tell the tale. I can't wait for that rewind.
Well, I really do want people to watch that episode. So maybe this is like a promo for the episode so they can get ready for the rewind. Because I want them to really look at it and look at what we actually did in there. And I would also congratulate us for this, except for there's a couple things that still bother me about this pitch. Besides the thing that I just said about the pirate lady on the pirate island, the real pirate queen that I'm headcanoning in my head. The other thing is we didn't give the kids their due with Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis playing the secondary villain needs to die. Some candelabra falls on him, then into a shark's mouth type of ridiculous Last Boy Scout death. After killing their frickin' parents, they have to use their newfound pirate skills in some way to get that guy. That guy needs to die.
I know what would be cool is if you pulled a Lion King and somehow they get all the other pirates to mercilessly just murk this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually, you know what they could do is in the course of stealing whatever secrets they need, it's like they come up with some evidence that he has been swindling all of his partners or whatever. And then it becomes like, hey man, we're not going to kill this guy. We're just going to, shine a light on what a jerk he is. And then everybody goes to town on him.
And that one conception I think never made it into thing, but it made it in my head canon. So I understand what you feel like sometimes, Ron, when you just make up something in your head. Because basically the thing is, Andy Serkis's character, I didn't want him to be a pirate, and I didn't want that scene where the merchant ship with the kids. It seemed really repetitive. Like when we listened to the pitch, the word pirate came up so much. Like if I got punched in the balls every time somebody said pirate, I'd be dead right now listening to that pitch. So I wanted it to be more like he kind of approaches them like a parlay. Like, hey, we're both businessmen. We're having fun. oh, can I dock on your ship tonight or something? And then he lets a bunch of shadow evil guys in to like kill them and their parents to take their stuff, because he's like the smooth criminal pirate. He isn't the one that
Or,
comes
you
in
know,
yo
it
ho
could be
ho.
cool.
He's a criminal, you know.
You kind of got, what if he's like Flask from Batman Begins, and he's really kind of like a military man that kind of like he's given in to the corruption, and he basically plays both sides. So he's not full pirate, you know.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking that he could foment a mutiny rather than being a guy who, like, you know, privateers their ship. What if he's like a steward on the ship? You know, the first time you see him, he's all dressed up. He's got a white handkerchief over his arm, and he's tending to all their needs. But really, he's fomenting a mutiny amongst the rest of the staff.
Yeah, to take their stuff. Yeah, and then the parents get. Oh man, I just feel like that adds that layer of story on there. We spent a lot of time with Black Caesar and his situation, and made him a real character, and then we kind of put these pieces around him, but they never really got to be real. You know,
I love that, because especially too that means those kids like know this guy, like he's been around probably their whole life, and he's probably resented them for
betrayed by the
years.
mentor. Oh, that's a great trope.
That is a great idea.
Yes.
It would add stakes, a lot of emotional stakes in that case. That's great. That's a great idea. Look at you, beautiful bastards. So we'll have to bleep that out. So I want to get out of here with one last comment, a couple of comments together. People who really enjoyed the sequels that we pretty much all trashed.
Me, I liked at least part 2.
So that's
that was so
I like 2 out of
They've made like 8 of them. I liked 1.
I like 1 and 2. So this is from
great.
This is from the Librarian of Alexandria and Aaron Netsky. There's 2 of them. I seem to be on an island on my own because I enjoyed all the previous Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Granted, I prefer Black Pearl, but in deference to the others, my top list would be 1, 4, 5. So she actually likes the last couple. She said, I love all the myths. That being said, I love your idea. Aaron Netsky said, I'm probably one of the few people who genuinely loves, to different degrees, the existing Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I said it 2 different ways so that we can be right one of the times. So I hope you won't take it as an insult when I say I would love to see your version and the sequels it would spawn.
I think so. Here's my kind of consensus, and this is kind of a weird thing, but I just finished my yearly rewatch of Family Matters, all 9 seasons, and that's right, I do it every year. And I think the same thing happened to Pirates of the Caribbean that happened to Family Matters, which is when you watch that first movie, that's a movie about Will Turner, and Jack Sparrow is, for better or worse, a cooler version. He's your Urkel. Or if you want, you could say he's your Han Solo. But what they did was, when they found out that everyone loved that character, they switched the focus over to Jack Sparrow. And when you think of it in terms of like Star Wars, Han Solo is really cool, but those movies are about Luke and his story. If you switched the focus completely to Han Solo, those movies kind of would fall apart after a while, because it's like, okay, he's the cool guy, but that's not the driver of the story. So I think with those sequels, the first one is fantastic. I think Dead Man's Chest really great. It sets up this mythology that I'm into. By the third one, literally they're like, how can we get more Jack Sparrow in this movie, to where the movie opens on a desert island where there's like hundreds of different it's like quite literally like, you want more Jack Sparrow? Here's more Jack Sparrow, to the point where like in the sequels, like it doesn't even quite make sense why we're following Jack anymore. He's not the driver of these stories, especially Dead Man Tell No Tales, which was the last one that came out in 2017, which was, he's the main character, but he's not the main character at all. Like the story is almost like trying to dance around the fact that it has to include him in someone else's emotional journey. It's like Barbossa's kid story. And I think that's where those movies got lost, was when they were like, Jack Sparrow is the one that we need to cater to, instead of having like this really great supporting character. You just can't make Han Solo the main character, because it doesn't work.
Han Solo versus Vader in Return of the Jedi. How disappointing would that
Like,
have been?
I mean, we saw it in Empire Strikes Back. It
Yeah.
lasts 3 seconds. He just takes the gun out of his hand and it's over, you know?
Yeah,
And he only doesn't kill him because he wants something from him.
Well,
otherwise he would be dead.
And also, to be fair, we did see how that fight would go later in the sequels. In the newest, we saw how that fight would go. But I also think it's Wolverine syndrome too. There are characters that thrive off of you getting a little tidbit of their history every fifth issue, every movie. Let's say a little tidbit. Oh, you fought in the Peloponnesian War. Oh, you were the captain. Oh, but to find these little things. By the third or fourth movie, what of value do you not know about Jack Sparrow? And he's no longer Wolverine. He's what Wolverine is now, which I know everything about Wolverine, and most of it sucks now. Back in the days, I didn't know Jack, and he was the most awesome thing I ever saw in my life.
That's like American Pie, you know? If you made an American Pie 2 and it was this, I think is hilarious. That's why I'm saying it, by the way. And you made a whole movie about the Shermanator, which was my favorite part of that movie.
No, but Ron, you're right. As funny as it is, you're not wrong.
I am.
Just the wrong character, because what they did was they did it with Stifler, which is Stifler's the funny one, and then American Wedding, they give all of it to Stifler, and that movie feels so disjointed from the other two, because what you don't realize is like Stifler is funny, but I'm emotionally invested in Jim's story, and now I'm at Jim's wedding, but I'm focused on Stifler. And that's exactly what happened with Dead Men Tell No Tales. I'm at this reunion between Barbossa and his kid, but I'm like stuck over here in the corner with Jack Sparrow. That's not emotionally fulfilling. So you may have been doing a bit again, but you were actually on the money.
Well, dude, I mean, but you're all absolutely right, and it's so disrespectful on some level. It's like the funeral for Storm's mother. We watch her approach the casket, and the camera just pans over to Wolverine filing his nails with his claws. It's just like, stop that! This is erasure.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, I think we kind of went through everything. This is fun. I like how when we go back and we can look at some of the stuff we did, we can go, okay, this stuff was great, but there was something more that we could have done. So that was a fun discussion, and we didn't yell at each other, and I'm proud of us, honestly.
Ron, I gotta say, you were able to wear a pirate costume the whole time and didn't just absolutely tank this one. So
yeah,
maybe the cosplay works.
Yeah, maybe next time I'll dress up as Spider-Man.
Okay, now guys, we all have to do the DJ Qualls.
DJ Qualls.
DJ Qualls. But see, you got to get the nuance right. It's not like you're confused. It's more like, isn't this a good idea? DJ
Qualls? You guys, thank you guys for coming on and doing this episode. And thank you guys, the Reboot community, for checking us out. On behalf of myself, Ed Greer, producer Bill, and Billy Business, we want to thank you for watching, liking, interacting with us. Keep commenting. The more you comment, the better chance you have of us talking about your comment, especially if it's good. If it's lame, maybe we'll make fun of you. You never know. Put it on there.
We didn't have enough of that this episode. We need to really bring out some clunker stinker comments so we could trash some people. That's
I tried with the Dusty Rhodes impression, but that was just a typo. Maybe. I don't know, baby. There's just so much going on in the YouTube comment section. DJ Qualls, baby. DJ Qualls, baby.
I'm just going to bring out my Randy Savage impression to go with Dusty Rhodes.
That was great. Now I have to learn. Great. I'm going to have to learn how to do some kind of wrestler imitation. Who should I learn, guys? Who would you like me to learn?
Stone Cold Steve Austin. Because seeing you try to slam 2 beers would be the funniest thing in the history of the world.
I could not do it, and I would throw up on camera. So thank you guys for talking about us too, by the way. Anybody who's watching this, tell your friends. Tell them how fun we are. Subscribe. Push the bell. Get notified that we're awesome, because we are. So come out, hang out. Thank you guys, and give each other hugs, because, and let's unless you're like leaving your house, then don't hug each other yet. But like as soon as, unless you got the okay, hug each other.
I
Bye.
literally put in the script not to ramble too much at the end.
Can I just push
Okay.
stop? Okay.
Yeah.
And
Bye guys. Bye. Bye.
Walls?
Qualls?